This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, is there anybody else who would like to check in?
Yeah, Dave Mo, Alameda. And who was the other Alameda person that checked in?
Yul, YUL, Alameda, with Oak Grove Lacrosse.
Okay, thank you. Got it, thank you.
Okay, next.
Colleen Holland, Chica Rebels.
Chica. Thank you, Colleen.
Will Hayes with Pleasant Grove Lacrosse, JV.
Anyone else? That looks about right, because I can see everybody else's names. Thank you. Okay, let's get started. My name is Erin Kramer, and I am the girls director, and I'll be doing the training today along with Laura Jennings, who will be on the call as well. Here's your timeline for scheduling. December 6th, 11 p.m. team registration closes. December 11th, conferences are released at 5 p.m. December 12th, we'll begin our A and high school team online scheduling for conference games. Boys will start at 6 and then girls will begin at 7 p.m. On December 13th, A and high school team online scheduling for non-conference games will begin. Boys at 6, girls at 7. December 14th is the NCGLA scheduling meeting in Fairfield for B level and 8U game scheduling. December 15th, game entry form opens on the NCGLA website. January 19th, girls and boys scheduling will end. The schedule is loaded into the NCGLA website. So, why wait until Saturday, December 14th to begin? Because the conferences might change up until the 14th. Also, if you wait, it provides a neutral format, so every club arrives on the 14th with the same advantage to build good schedules. Just basic etiquette. A and high school will receive a head start because they have more scheduling requirements to meet, and we want to make sure those games get set prior to adding the B games. The meeting in Fairfield, the meeting location, the in-person meeting will be at Green Valley Middle School in Fairfield. There'll be plenty of parking. It's a spacious room. There will be limited Wi-Fi, so definitely have a backup plan. Don't show up and just rely on having to get online to schedule your games. Make sure you have a fully downloaded copy if you're doing it on the computer, or have paper copies of what you need to do to schedule your games. On December 13th, there will be a mini scheduling meeting in Sacramento at the Lacrosse Fanatic store between 7 and 8:30 p.m. Meeting logistics. For girls B and 8U teams, you'll meet from 9 to 12 p.m. You'll do in-conference scheduling from 9 to 10:45, and then out-of-conference scheduling will begin at 10:45 and finish at 12. We ask that the girls clear out at 12, wrap it up, and then we'll get ready for the boys, and the boys will begin in-conference scheduling between 12:30 and go until 2, and then out of conference between 2 and 3:30. All B team schedulers will be all together in the same room at the same time. There'll be a conference map at each entrance, at the entrance, so you can see where to go first to do your in-conference scheduling. What to expect? A large, lively social gathering. You'll move around a lot, talk to lots of people, have a good time. Schedulers will collaboratively work to accomplish the same goal, which is to complete your conference schedule. And a good result would be to have 60 to 70% of your team schedules complete. Games agreed upon at the meeting are confirmed and will not be changed. So please keep in mind that you need to not change your mind and cancel games with the people that you scheduled in person with, that those are set. Meeting format, arrive 15 minutes early to check in and get settled. We'll have a sign-in sheet and name tags provided for you. Conferences will be listed. Scheduling your conference games, once again, is your top priority. Schedulers for both boys and girls programs must only work on their schedules during the designated times. So if you're a girls scheduler there and maybe you are also the boys, don't ask to schedule the boys while you're scheduling the girls games. You need to wait. Girls game schedulers should vacate the gym by noon at the latest to allow the boys game schedulers to get situated. So we'll have a separate check-in at that time for the boys schedulers. A and high school division schedulers are also meeting from 11:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the back of the room, so look for the check-in table. Things to bring. Dates and times you must have. Home field name, sub-site name, availability and times, whether it's turf or grass. Have your blackout dates for your teams, spring break for your school districts, any holidays and school events that you want to black out, jamboree dates that your boys and girls 10U and 8U teams want to attend, and keep in mind that there's a separate registration required, but as schedulers, you should make sure you know the dates of the jamborees so that and whether or not your teams want to attend and if they're planning to attend, so that you can do that also at this meeting. The supporting information. You need to have the NCJLA game scheduling appendix and info sheets. Conference opponents for each team in your club, your team's strength score, the list of clubs that you owe travel to this season, so the rule of reciprocity, good thing to follow. Scheduling goals for your organization, so that could be a multitude of things. We'll talk about that later. Any material specific to your scheduling needs. Also, please wear clothing with your club colors and logos to make sure you're easily identifiable. This is pretty important because you will be seeing a list of teams that you want to schedule games with, but you might not know what they look like. This will help. Things to bring. The scheduling appendix. The scheduling appendix contains the following. It has the dates for opening weekends per division, so the first date for your official first games, play date dates for girls 14UB and 8U through 8U and boys 10U and 8U. These are preseason dates before the opening weekend. The league blackout dates, those are usually due to scheduling officials. So if officials are having a play date that they're getting trained for, then they will not be available. So we have those listed on the scheduling appendix. The last weekend to schedule regular season play per division, playoff dates per division, end of season date per division, end of season event date per division, and scheduling requirements per division, number of games, etc. These are what the game scheduling appendix look like for the boys and girls. These are not downloadable quite yet. Very soon they will be, but you will need to print. I would suggest that you print this out and bring it with you. As you might be able to see, because it's kind of blurry on the girls' side, we have to change and add a new division for 10U. The time blocks for game scheduling is very important when you're blocking out your field schedule and your games for the day that you can have and schedule for each field. You need to schedule them in these blocks per boys and girls divisions. Officials considerations. Boys and girls officials, these are the considerations for the officials. The games must be scheduled continuously. If a team is going to play more than one game in a day at the same location, there should be no more than 20 minutes of downtime for the officials between games. Clubs are encouraged to schedule another game from the same gender in between the first and second game to accommodate longer breaks. For example, a girls 14U game, then a girls 12U game, and then a girls 14UB game again. So we don't want you to put a boys game in there or an 8U game. As you can see, designate time blocks for your boys and girls, youth versus high school, and keep them scheduled in blocks of close in age level. Another example would be a boys 12U and then a boys 10U, and then have your girls round robin after that. Definitely do not schedule 8U games, which have no officials, in between older teams' games. Lastly, info about the 10UB cancellation policy will be linked on this document, but additionally, we have it here. All right, so this is new this year. The boys and girls 10U cancellation policy for referees. Boys and girls 10UB levels may cancel officials assigned to their games via the Officials Association assigners. This is not applicable to any other age divisions. Both teams must agree in writing at least 15 days prior to the game to cancel the games. So this would be like the 8U format. So one coach on the sideline and one coach on the field as a referee. There's no penalty for teams declining to make this change, and opponents should respect that some clubs do not have extra coaches to complete this task on game day. It's strongly recommended that coaches who wish to serve as the one coach on the field complete the NCJLA rules test and attend the officials rules interpretation session. If the officials assigner is not notified at least 15 days in writing of the cancellation, then the NCJLA game cancellation fees apply. Does anyone have any questions about this?
Could you repeat the time and date for the meeting at Green Valley Middle School?
Okay.
It's December 14th, and it starts at 9 and goes till 3, and there's different sessions for boys and girls.
Okay, thank
Can
you.
you also clarify high school? I was confused. I heard that the conferences start on 12/12, but then the meetings don't start till the 13th. I also heard that there was a cross fanatic thing from 11:30 to 12. I'm still not sure when you're supposed to be where for varsity, for high school.
So the high school teams, they have an online process that kicks off December 2nd, and then they close out at the same time as all the other teams in the league. And at the end of this presentation, we'll go into the nitty-gritty of the high school scheduling process. So just hang on till the end and we'll cover all that.
Okay, thank you.
And the slides will be posted for your information, so you don't need to really worry about writing everything down. Laura, do you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, sure. So do you have the template downloaded to show them when it's time?
Yeah, but we won't be able to do no, I don't, but why don't you, I can do that while you're.
Okay. Alrighty. So schedulers, this is a big change from years past. Some of the information we've just covered, you're like, oh, that's a repeat. And this is really the big thing that is going to change for 2020. In the past, you could put in your fields for scheduling when you're entering your games. You could say, I'm going to pick on Chico here for a second. You could put in Chico High School Lax Field, Well, that really isn't the proper name of where that game is going to be played. It really is, Chico High School, and then it's either stadium or grass field. So this year, if Aaron could just go back to the slides for a second, you're going to need to be a little more specific with what information that you're putting in for your games. It has to be spelled correctly, no abbreviations, no common names, and you have to tell us which sub-site. So the site is Chico High School, and the sub-site is the football field. And then the exact time. So TBD is no longer able to be accepted. This is a change that Arbiter Sports, which is what we use to assign our officials to your games, has made a change. It's nothing that the NCJLA can, work around. It is simply because we have multiple sports using fields, and they have created a way for us not to double book a venue. So we've put together a cleaned up list of the NCJLA field sites. And if you go to that page, if Aaron could click on that, the NCJLA fields, or go to the next slide.
Sorry.
That's okay. You should probably take a few minutes before scheduling kicks off and find your regular fields that your club uses, because the name may have changed. And if you try to put in, the common or, nickname for your fields, it's going to say this field doesn't exist, or it's going to kick it back out of the system. So you'll want to make sure that you're using the proper name and that you figured that out for your schedulers and your club. You can find that on the Fields tab on the NCJLA website. The other piece to note, if you could go to the next slide, Aaron, is there will be a template for you to find your subsites. So this is just a quick, visual of what that template looks like. You can see it has the date, the time, some other things that are specific to the officials, but the site and subsite have a drop down for you to use to find out which subsites are specific to lacrosse. And Aaron, could you go to the actual template so we can see what it looks like when they open that up? Yep, there we go. And so she's gonna pop that open, and you guys will get a copy of this to use. Is it open, Aaron? That's okay.
So I just didn't click it hard enough, sorry.
But this is a really handy tool for you to use. And so I know in the past we've had some issues with clubs that are saying, well, our team is here, but the officials aren't here. And the officials are like, I'm here, but there's no teams. And really you're on opposite sides of the venue. So yep, here we go. So for the site, Aaron, if you could type in there, let's say Casa Grande High School under the site tab.
Site
to the left. Yep, right there. And just type in Casa Grande High School.
All one, HS or high?
Yep, just like that will work. And then if she hits enter, it pops up red. It's like, hey, that's not the way it's supposed to be. So go to the drop down, and then you'll see all the names for the field, and you can find the proper name for Casa Grande. And you'll need to do this before you guys go to scheduling. So yep, Casa Grande HS. And then it'll pop out the subsite for you, and you can see there's 3 different ones there. So if we were doing a 12U game, 12U boys, she would pick stadium because they're going to use the whole field. And let's say she's going to have a 10U B game afterwards, she'd pick Casa Grande, and this time she would pick Stadium A because she's going to use half of the field. So this is something you're going to set aside some time to do so that you know exactly which fields and subfields you're using. Any questions about this before we move on?
If we've got a new field in town that we need added, do we add that through the NCGLA site, or how does it get on this game import supplement?
That's a good question. So if you do have a new field, you're going to follow the same process that you would with Dan Miller, our webmaster, and he will contact the assigner. We'll make sure that we get that field added and that we communicate back to you what the proper name for the field is, and so that you're able to use that in Arbiter. But that would be something you'd want to get situated pretty quickly so that you know you can enter your games on time.
And just a clarification on the slide, it said no TBDs allowed for time. So we put our times together after we have everything. I'm understanding that to mean we can't enter games as TBD, but when we leave the scheduling meeting, we can have some times not exactly dialed in yet.
Right. We found that the best practice is when you're at the scheduling meeting to tell your the opponent that, hey, we're looking at an AM start, which is typically between 8 a.m. and 11 a.m., or we're looking at a PM start, 12 to 4. But yeah, by the time you enter the game into the system, you should have nailed down an exact time.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good.
Yep.
All right, required game details for fields. So this is when you want to enter your game. It's the same system as last season. You need to have the drop-down menu for the correct season, the correct conference, the team name that has the division attached to it. So here it says Elk Grove Gladiators B Varsity. Click on options, then from the Windows drop-down and add event. That's where you're going to begin. So for your option, add new event. You need to enter the required details for the field. So the exact date, the exact time. On number 2, it lists how many minutes. So that's going to be your scheduling blocks that were on the slide earlier per division. The exact location will be the site name. You'll pick the category. It's a game. Once again, the season date, season year. The teams will all be in a drop-down menu format, which is very helpful. And then lastly, number 8, event note. We'd like you to put the exact name sub-site, exactly written as it is on the list. New for 2020, if everybody could mute themselves unless they have something to share, that would be amazing. New for 2020, Saturday before Easter is no longer a blackout date. Games may also be scheduled for weeknights or Friday evenings. Girls 10A
We do it
division.
a half hour, so you're done at 9:55.
What's your question? Hello? Okay. Girls 10A division has been added and will follow the same format and requirements as all other girls A and high school level teams. Minimum 10 and maximum game count is now 16. You must file a waiver if your team wants more or less. There's a waiver form attached here. This will open after the scheduler's training is complete. Things to bring. You need to bring your scheduling goals. Questions to consider. Do your teams want to save tough matchups for before or after spring break? Do you owe any other clubs a travel trip? How many games do your coaches want for their teams? Do your 10A, B, and 8U teams want to attend one of the jamborees or more? If so, save the date. Jamboree dates. We'll have 2 dates in Napa at Justin Siena High School on Saturday and Sunday, March 28th and 29th. We'll also have one at Menlo Atherton High School on April 25th and one at Rio Americano High School on April 18th. The cost for these jamborees are the officials' fees, which will be on your regular season invoice. And unless you're an outside of NCJLA team, you would pay $50 per team to attend, plus the officials' fees. The scheduling instructions for these jamborees are as follows. Schedulers should let other clubs know that they are signed up to attend the jamboree on the NCJLA website. Schedulers can then agree to play each other at the jamboree. Schedulers can record the game time that they want to play each other on the jamboree sign-up sheet at the NCJLA scheduling meeting. A commissioner will be on hand to assist with recording those games. Each team is allowed up to 3 games at any given jamboree. If there's a high interest in a specific jamboree, the NCJLA directors will have the authority to request that a team and their opponent move the game to another site. Prepare a plan that works for you. Some schedulers use Excel worksheets, some schedulers print calendars, some use a separate sheet of paper for each home game. Some use a separate sheet for each team with available dates as blanks to be filled in. Here's an example of a simple calendar pages with the blackout dates entered. Here's an example of a more complex spreadsheet. This is a Google Doc that multiple schedulers can access. So on the left side, there's the Saturday, Sunday dates that are available for their club's games and the times, and then it's color coded, and each column is a different team for their club. You must have a plan. There's no one right way to do this. All of the previous plans are great. It's strongly recommended that clubs have one master scheduler versus a scheduler for each team. Use a system most familiar to you as a scheduler, and you can definitely talk with experienced schedulers for ideas and tips. So reach out to your directors or commissioners. If you are inexperienced, we can definitely help you, or consider calling your club's former scheduler to get some advice if you need some.
Aaron, it's Brian Frost. Can I ask a question about this?
Yes.
You said for the conference scheduling, you're going to split us up into different rooms. So how does it work when we have teams in different conferences? Like, let's say we have two 12B teams that are in different conferences. How does the master scheduler work when you have 2 rooms and only 1 person?
It's all one room. There'll be
it's all
okay. All one room, and they'll just have like corners of the room separated, like tables that are, yeah.
And Aaron, can I just chime in here? We've really divided the league into 5 different regions or conferences. So there's the Northwest, Southwest, Central West, and then North and Southeast conference for the league. So there's really just your 4 to 5 areas. So.
Laura, is that the same for A level?
That is a whole nother ballgame, but we are trying to get there. We just need some more teams to be able to do that.
All right, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Laura, could I ask a delayed question about the TBD inputs, please?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry to interrupt the flow. So the reason a lot of us put TBD in is because we don't necessarily know at the given time of scheduling. So we're probably going to put in sort of like a 12 o'clock or a 2 o'clock just as a guess, which means we'll probably need to refine it later when we go back. So I imagine that there's going to be an increased number of requested changes coming through the system. Traditionally, this goes to Dan via the web form. Have any changes been made sort of systematically to anticipate a larger number of game scheduling changes now that we have to lock it in early and we can anticipate subsequent edits to the schedule? Right.
So the TBD is from the arbiter side of this. In terms of Dan, if it's TBD or 11 o'clock, either way, you're going to be changing the time and he's going to need to process it. but Arbiter, if it's TBD, it won't kick back if, say, rugby is using the field or you have another team on there. And so it needs to have a time. So.
Yep. No, I totally understand that now. I'm saying that I think the natural consequence of that will be many more game change requests that are coming through Dan.
Yep. Either way, either way, he's going to have to do it. So.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Completion of training is required this year. All schedulers must complete training in order to schedule games. They must attend the scheduler's training webinar, which is this, sign a non-disclosure agreement, complete an 8-question test, and submit contact information for League Athletics and Arbiter Sports website access. All items should be completed by December 11th. Completion of schedulers training is required. The protocol. You can have one scheduler or multiple, but anyone who wants access to enter games or be listed on the NCGLA schedulers list must complete training. An individual will not be given access to schedule or enter games for a team if they are not listed on the schedulers training completion list created by the directors. For the in-person schedulers meeting, as long as at least one person has completed training for the club, they will be allowed to schedule that day. The person listed as having completed training is responsible for the conduct of all other volunteers for the club that day. We'll leave the scheduler's training test open until February 1st, and that is so you can add new schedulers to the list to enter games. So they will still have to complete the online training, the non-disclosure agreement, the test, and then submit their information. But you do have the option to add schedulers later. Why require schedulers training? Reports of schedulers not following the expectations of the league have been made, and that's why we're doing this. It's for the good of the sport. It helps respect the time of our volunteers. It reduces the amount of changes and cancellations due to I did not know. It establishes standards of behavior and processes, and connecting struggling schedulers with experienced NCGLA staff and volunteers. The game scheduling presentation will be available on the website after all training sessions are complete. It provides detailed instructions and important web links. It includes minimum and maximum time blocks for games, and a reminder that the maximum game count this year is 16. The end of season event games are covered by the NCGLA and not included in this game count. Neither are the games if you attend preseason play days. Jamborees do count in the maximum game count. And that is the end of the first part of the online scheduling webinar. We were mostly talking about the overall scheduling principles, but mainly geared towards the B levels. So this next part is going to touch base on the A and high school level online scheduling process. But before we move forward, I'd like to open up the meeting to any questions about the slides that we just went over.
Yes, hey, how you doing? My name's Chang, Redhawks. Just a quick question. December 14th is from 9 to 3 p.m. Do we have special blocks for each groups, like U10, U12, U14?
Yes. So
do you have the time?
That was in the first slides.
Oh wait, so we do it by conference and non-conference.
Okay.
So we recognize that some clubs like to they like to have an all club day where like if Petaluma is going to be playing Napa, all the teams go over for the day. So it's conference and then out of conference.
Great, and I can access that after the meeting, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, Laura, I think we're good to go. Okay, are you ready, Laura, or would you like me to do that?
Yes. Nope.
Okay.
Alrighty. So we're going to continue with the online process that we started 2 years ago. Last year, the boys joined in and had a couple hiccups, but we took your feedback. And, the girls are still on board with this and love the process. And so this year we have a few changes, but essentially it will be the same principle. We're, scheduling on a shared spreadsheet and communicating with each other online. And there are periods of time where scheduling is open and closes for, the staff to make sure people are meeting the guidelines. If this is your first year, there's some common terms here. We use the same thing from the B and youth levels, where we talk about conference teams, non-conference, round robins, double headers, single games. Some more specific items for the A and high school level are the host dates. That's on the next slide, Erin.
The non-conference is 2 to 3. Is that a maximum, or can it be more than 2 or 3 non-conference games?
Yes. So the conferences, the amount that you're required to play is based off of how many are in your conference. And I will say that the commissioners and staff are, we're working really hard on what will make the best situation for each conference. So if you have an idea, we really want to know about it, because I know there was a lot of feedback about that last year. Just to continue on for those that are new, the host date is the date that your team can have other teams come and play. The host date entry, you're gonna, follow the standard format of month, day, year. And we operate with the understanding that the start times will either be AM or PM. So 8 a.m. to 11 is AM and PM is 12 to 4. If you hear the term locked, that means that the spreadsheet will not accept any edits or changes. That means that the staff and commissioners are reviewing your work, making sure that everybody's following the guidelines. You will still be able to see it, but nothing will be able to be entered. And lastly, or not lastly, there's the all team schedule tab. This is the tab where you can see all the games for the division, all the opponents. It's as an experienced scheduler myself, I wish all of our teams could, schedule this way, because it saved me 300 plus emails one year. As for the commissioners, these guys are volunteers for the league, and they help determine the host dates per team in a division. They, kind of mediate any issues. They gather feedback. They are your advocate for this process, and I highly recommend that you reach out to them if you are having an issue as soon as that issue presents itself, because they want to help. Next is some key dates. So there's a question earlier in the training about, how come this starts on the 12th and 13th? We want to give you guys time to really refine those host dates. So we're going to kick that off December 2nd. Now that is going to stay open past the team registration closing on December 6th. And on December 10th, we will have the host dates lock. So there'll be a little bit of time to kind of, figure out if you have the same host date as your neighboring club, and, maybe work out who's going to be hosting in the region that week. On the 11th, we're going to announce the conferences for the entire league from 8U to high school. And then on the 12th, we're going to open up our shared spreadsheet to do the conference games. Boys are going to start at 6 and girls at 7, and we're going to close at 11 p.m. I can tell you that over the past 2 years, people have been done with their conference games in 15 minutes, and they're messaging me like, am I missing something? Did I do this wrong? No, it literally can be 15 minutes of your time. But we will leave it open till 11 if you want to make sure that you're getting, the best games for your club. On the 13th, we're going to do the, it should say non-conference here. It says conference. So the 13th will be the non-conference games, boys at 6, girls at 7, and it'll close at 11 again. On the 13th, we also have the Sacramento scheduling meeting. I spoke with Pete, and he said that he should have some Wi-Fi available for those that have to do A and B at that time. Go to the next one. Same thing for the rest of the league. It will be for A in high school, December 14th. We'll do the in-person scheduling meeting. We have a brief 30-minute debrief where we collect feedback from the teams and we let you guys get in person to try to finish out your games. And then on December 15th, we are going to open game entry to enter it into the NCJLA website. And we are going to lock the shared spreadsheet so that we can start entering those games to the website. In the past, we left that open all the way till middle of January, and what we found was people were going back later on and just totally changing their schedule up, and we really don't want to duplicate work that we do in December again in January. We want to respect everybody's time and just get it done the first time. January 19th, you'll need to have all the games entered, just like the rest of the league. All right, scheduling games versus non-division teams. There's been a lot of feedback on this, and some questions. People that are contemplating going A, about, I don't really have a lot of opponents in my area, or we have a really light schedule. There are B veteran teams that are willing to play a team that is, a little bit stronger than them, and so I would highly encourage the high school and A teams to play non-division teams. Just keep in mind, you still have to meet that requirement of the, no more than 16 games. And you still have to meet the rest of your scheduling requirements. And you need to play by the rules of play for the lowest level. So we really don't want those B teams playing by the A level rules. We want to keep it safe for them. I also want to say, this is a perfect time to, maybe give a B player some A level experience, or let some kids play some different positions that they're interested in learning. But overall, this is good for the sport and good for our kids. So the RPI formula. I want to say we heard loud and clear people who were, kind of concerned about how this was affecting the scheduling and affecting their kids' experience. So the NCJLA board took that into consideration, and they adopted a new formula for RPI, which we think will alleviate some of the concern about conference formation and who they're playing. So the formula is now 40% for winning percentage, 50% your opponent's winning percentage, and only 10% now for your opponent's winning percentage. Now, we're not going to get into a statistics lesson right now, but if you are very concerned about how this is calculated and the finer points of it, we have the operations guide link there. And we have the frequently asked questions, which explains everything in depth. Just one more point about the RPI is that there is no advantage for running up the score. As an official, it is very difficult to remain impartial during a game where I see a team running the score up 20-2, and it's we need to do a better job of talking to our coaches and, communicating to our opponents, our team's strength or, struggles, and really working together to make sure that we're managing the game so that kids don't feel disheartened or totally defeated, or, vice versa, that there's no competition out there for them. We want it to be fun and competitive. So just the collective we need to do a better job of communicating that so we don't have those shutouts. Entering your host date. So the commissioners and staff and whoever else wants to chime in, we really want your feedback on this. Is how many host dates should each team be getting for the season? We set up this spreadsheet and we have all the clubs that are going to be in that division enter a few dates that they want to have home games, and it's first come first serve. And we like to make sure that it's evenly distributed so you have a good balance of home games and away games. You'll notice that there's gray parts on here. That is where there's either an officials training or there's there's only so many spots. So if it's gray, you need to reach out to the commissioner and get permission to enter your club as having fields available to play that day. Some details about entering that host date. It's the name of the team, AM or PM, and then if you want to have a round robin, a doubleheader, or it's just a single game. We have several of you that have the same mascot, so please make sure you're putting the name of the club and then your mascot, like the example below, Santa Rosa Steelheads, Boys High School Varsity, AM, and they just want a single game. I think we have like 3 different Warriors teams, so please make sure you're putting that in there. So we are going to take that that information along with your strength scores that you submit when you register your teams, and bravo to all of the schedulers from last year with putting in your team strength scores. Across all A and high school divisions, those of you with the higher strength scores were actually in the top 4 of your division and either made it to the playoffs or the championship. So we're very pleased with your work on this, and we'd like to continue doing that. And the strength score will be next to the scheduler's contact information for that team so that you can find teams that will be close to your competitive level. Some information about transferring those host dates to your all teams tab. It kind of gets a little touchy here because people, when they put in their host date, they think people are automatically going to travel, and play an away game with them. That is not a guarantee. There's a lot of variables for each team, their school schedule, their parents' schedules, the coaches. So, be flexible. If you see someone is not signing up for your day to host, talk to the commissioner, say, hey, can I change this? I have another date. This by far is the best tab to see what everybody has so that you can find the best spot for your team to plug in. Like I said before, I scheduled before this process and it was 300 plus emails for just one team. And we literally got the schedule done in about 30 minutes the first year. So highly recommend that you use this tool. Moving the host dates. So once it's over there, you'll be able to see all the games. It says on these tabs, teams that wish to play, a team that is hosting will sign up to travel to the hosting team. Conferences are Thursday, non-conferences Friday. We really do not want to see you change a conference game to accommodate a non-conference game. This is, unless all parties agree and the commissioners approve, we really want to honor those conference games. There's plenty of non-conference opponents to play. So let's try to make sure that we're not duplicating our work. The other key point is that, communicate with your neighboring club to make sure that you are not joining their round robin or doubleheader every time they host because you're like, oh, great, that's a shorter distance to travel. Well, that means you're probably playing them a bunch of times and they might not want to play you that many times. So lots of communication going on. And if we do that, we should be pretty good. So here's an example of the all teams scheduled tab. You can see here we have some people who are doing a round robin. We have others who are just doing one game. There's a notes section for people to enter in, the exact start times, or they've put it in the NCGLA system. And then on the far right is the time slot confirmation. So very easy to see what's going on and to sign up. Confirming your games. So the host team is the team that gets to say, yes, this is what we want to host. This is who is coming. So please respect that. The notes section is where you can also put in, some details about the venue. Maybe it's a club-wide barbecue day, and so they really can't travel. And so, or maybe there's a parade in town and the kids, have to be there in the afternoon or vice versa. So that's a great place to put those notes. And we want this confirmation that, yes, we're going to enter this game. It's good to go by December 15th. Now, even though we're asking for this confirmation, there can be some changes within that. You can go to the next one, Erin. We want to make sure that we're, using everybody's time wisely and they have enough time to enter it into the NCGLA system. Last year, when game entry form opened again in February, we had 155 game additions, and that just, the bandwidth of staff and the officials and the assigners just isn't there to keep doing that. So we want to make sure we get these entered. If you have some minor changes, the list below is where you do not need to involve the NCGLA. If you're, moving the venue to, within 10 miles, that's not going to change the travel plan. So, go ahead and move it. If the exact start time is still going to be, AM or PM, you're just changing from 9 to 10. No need to involve the NCGLA staff. If the order of the opponents played during the doubleheader or the round robin, if they're still going to play on the same day, there's no need to involve us. If there's a weather-related cancellation or rescheduled, that falls within the operations guide. And then the other thing is, as schedulers, there's just sometimes where it just works best for the team that they just cancel the game and take the forfeit. So if you're going to do that, you don't need to involve staff. We want you to play, but we recognize sometimes that just needs to happen. So why is this so complicated? The A and high school divisions, they want to play a competitive season. They want a more formal structure, and they're getting ready for that transition to either varsity or CIF status. And we want to create an even playing field for our schedulers. That's, you guys are volunteers, and we want to make sure we're respecting your time. Good. And then if there's any issues, our commissioners and directors, they are here to help. The contact page is there on the NCGLA website. I highly encourage you to use the form that is there for the email because their email addresses are not published anymore. But I assure you that the website form gets to those commissioners to help you with this. And with that, are there any questions?
I got a question. Can you clarify again? You said non-conference games is 2 or 3. Is 2 the minimum or 3 the maximum?
So the conference games is determined by how many
non-conference games.
So non-conference it's on the scheduling appendix, and I believe it is 2 non-conference games.
It said 2-3, so I'm trying to clarify. Is 2 minimum, 3 the maximum?
Can you go to the scheduling appendix, Erin? Can you go up to the scheduling appendix so you can see it? It's way too small for me to see that, so.
Yeah, it was on one of the slides that said non-conference 2-3.
I can go to the
You just zoom in. Is this for boys or girls that you're asking about?
High school boys.
High school boys.
Do you want me to open it up on the?
No, yeah, if you could just read it, that's great. It's just really small on my screen. I can't see that. So.
Yeah, it's just super blurry. So 2 or more.
So 2. 2 is the minimum for non-conference.
Okay, thanks. And then can you clarify again that lacrosse fanatic, the 11 to 12, 11:30 to 12 meeting? What is that meeting for if we're doing everything online?
So the meeting on December 14th, the Saturday at Green Valley Middle School, that is the debrief period. So if there's anything in there that you need to finish up, you can take care of that. But really, it's a time to give feedback to staff on how the process went and what you want fixed or improved. The NCJLA board has allocated some funds to developing a program for this, and we're actively talking to some software builders to make this specifically for us. So your feedback is directly used by the league to develop a tool that should help all of us eventually with scheduling.
I'm actually referring to the bottom of this slide, the December 13th meeting of the Lacrosse Fanatic. What is that? What is it
Okay,
doing with that?
so on December 13th, the Friday, the Sacramento clubs do want to play teams from the east, the Northwest and Central West, and so we provide a small meeting for them to do their own scheduling for the Sacramento area. And it's very informal. It basically is just a meeting room for those guys to get together and schedule their conference games.
So for who, again, because I thought we were doing the conference games with the spreadsheet.
If you're an A in high school level team, you are doing it online. If you are a B level team or youth in the Sacramento area, then you're going on December 13th.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Laura, I have one question about the host dates, right? So it's just not clear to me. If we can play a game any weekend and we can host a game any weekend, do we put every weekend out there? I don't like the just 2 or 3. I mean, we're wide open, so
right.
So
So
a little limiting.
Right. So the reason behind that is because we want to make sure that everybody gets an equal amount of home games and away games. We recognize that some of you have fields that are, available every weekend, and, you have turf, and it's just, your city is totally support of you. And, that's great. But then we need to make sure that those who don't have that situation still have an opportunity to have home games as well. And so once we determine, everybody has an equal amount of home days and there's, more space is available to play more games, then we'll open it up for clubs like yourself that have open availability every weekend for them. So this is designed to make sure that everybody in the division gets an equal amount of home and away. It is not a perfect science. I will be very clear about that because there are a lot of factors with the clubs. Like I said, coach availability, the teams, field trips or other sports. So, but we are getting very close to everybody having an equal number of home and away. Any other questions?
Can you go through an example of what would look like? I'm still confused about how do you say you're available, and then how do you once you see somebody's available, how do you sign on for their home game?
Okay, so Aaron, can you go to the next example? Scroll down. I think it's down. Keep going. Right there. Yep. All right, so if you're able to see this tab here, it shows the clubs that are hosting. So we have like 5 clubs that are hosting that weekend, and the first one's El Dorado Hills is hosting, Ross Valley, Coyotes, Riptide, and West Valley Redhawks. So those are the clubs that, are signed up for that weekend. And then we have, Pleasanton is coming to play El Dorado Hills. Southern Marin is going to go play Ross Valley. Grizzlies are going to go play Coyotes. And they just sign up on the spreadsheet to play those clubs.
So the first entry would be in the first column where the people would enter that, and then when they open it up. And then,
exactly.
And that's just round robin. What if they're single games?
So you'll notice on that tab there, the Coyotes have put in that, let's see, on the second group, the example of March 10th, they've said they can only host 1 game. And that's why it's very important when you sign up for your host date, you say, hey, we want a doubleheader, or we want a single game, or we want to do a round robin. All 3 are perfectly normal and acceptable for clubs to offer for teams to visit.
Okay, thank you.
I will say that even though you as a scheduler need to know which field you are going to be on, when we do this online process, you don't need to put the name of the field in right away. You can put that in the notes section so people know it's turf. I know when I was scheduling, I only had 1 turf field available in March. And so if I saw somebody else had turf, I would sign up for their field in March because I knew the game probably wasn't going to get canceled because of weather. So, you don't have to know the exact name of the field on there, but it's helpful. All right. Any other questions? All right. Well,
I'm sorry. I have a question.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify for the high school scheduling. They will, even though we're doing it online, we attend the meeting at Green Valley on the 14th, correct?
So if your club only has girls high school, right? Is that what your club has?
Yep.
Okay. Then if you are satisfied with your schedule online, and that's the only thing that your club has, then I would check in with your commissioner and just be like, hey, this is my feedback. I don't think I'm going to attend because I only have 1 team to schedule for. That's totally fine.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Laura, do you have any ideas how many high school varsity or JVs there are right now? Is like any clubs giving you a heads up? Or are you still going to wait for the registration?
For boys. Right now, we've projected that there will be 9 in each of the divisions, so boys high school and boys JV. I did speak with the High Sierra Lacrosse Foundation, and I let them know that we would be doing our scheduling online. And I said, you guys are more than welcome to try to fill that out. I also spoke to some CIF athletic directors who would be interested in scrimmaging you guys, because it does worry me that it's getting to be that small.
So you'd be looking at a conference of 5 and a conference of 4, depending on geographics, right?
Yeah, and that is a big debate. Like, do we just make it one big conference because there's only 9 of you? You guys would play each other anyway. So if you feel one way or the other on that, really check in with Jim Kircher. He's the boys high school commissioner, and weigh in on what you think would work best for you guys.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. All right, guys. I just want to say, we have a process, and we have expectations, but we really need to hear from you. If you have an idea, like I said, we're really open to your feedback. We're here for you, and put us to work. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday, And we'll post the scheduler's test and the non-disclosure agreement for you guys probably by 1 o'clock this afternoon.
Excellent. Thank you.